Welcome to the Digital Opinion. I'm ADD, and today we're going to have a look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at the positives and the negatives. We're going to look at the TD Sequential indicator, which is what I use to trade Bitcoin. If that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned because it's all coming up next. So straight into the positives, we're looking at the 1-day chart, and the 1-day chart has produced a 13 on the trend count to the downside, as you can see here. Now for it to be a perfected 13, it has to trade lower than the previous 8 on the same count. Now the 8 is roughly at $47,000, and currently we sit just above that. So for today's candle, we want it to close below $47,000 for it to be a valid count to the downside. A great example of this is the 13 count we had to the upside, which saw us top perfectly at $69,000 with a 13 count to the upside, which then saw it reverse all the way back down to where we are today, as you can see here. The second positive is we are still within the TDST support, which is still intact. Now you can see the TDST support is between $42,000 and $52,000. You can see it here on a bigger time frame, but it's more visible on the shorter time frames. Another positive for Bitcoin is we have broken out of this falling wedge, and it looks like we tried to break that 52k mark, but unfortunately we found strong resistance around that price range. Another positive for Bitcoin is that we're making higher lows. So the most recent high low was at around 45k, where we saw a previous swing low at 42k. So currently we've made a higher low at 45k, which you can see here, and we've pushed from there all the way up to 52k, which now looks like it's been met with strong resistance, as we said before. Since being rejected at 52k, it now looks like a possibility that we're putting in another higher low at around 47k, which is a great signal. Another positive is that on the short-term time frame, Bitcoin is oversold. You can see here that we're under that 35 range, which means that we're oversold on the price of Bitcoin in the short term. So I do expect some sort of reversal in the next 24 to 48 hours. Now to the negatives. So the negatives on Bitcoin, the 1-day chart has printed a 2 count of 9 to the downside. This could possibly mean that we're either going to see a 1 to 4 count correction or a 1 to 9 if it fulfills the 9 count. The second negative I've got is we've now bounced off the 45k range 3 times already, as you can see here. The more times we come back to test that 45k range, the more likely it is to break to the downside. Another negative I've got is that we got rejected at the 1-day moving average, which is the green line you can see here. Previously, it's acted as support where we've bounced off it many a times and sent the price to the upside. In this case, we've run into strong resistance twice already at that moving average, as you can see here. Another negative is the weekly TD count is on a 7 of 9, which possibly means that we've got a further 2 weeks after this week finishes to the downside. So what we can see on the charts on the 4-hour time frame is that we are trading in between this channel, which could last for possibly a further 2 weeks, as we discussed before, which is between 52k and 45k, as indicated here. I still think the sentiment is still in the bulls' hands. The bulls still have control of the market, as we still haven't broken market structure. If we were to fall below 42k, then I would say it does look like doom and gloom for Bitcoin, where we could see further lower prices going back down to touch that 30k range. However, we have made higher lows, so the sentiment for me is still bullish. I still do see us breaking that 52k range once we go back up to test it again, because as you can see, we've tested it not just once but twice, and once we do come up to test it for a third time, I do see us breaking it and pushing all the way back up to that 58k range. thank you for tuning in. I'm ADD, this is the Digital Opinion, and I'm signing out.